Hello and welcome to the first Bits and Bytes Live for 2023. And today we're going to start, for this session, we're going to be talking about the topic of monetizing programmability. So for that and other long words, then please stick with us. And I've got a couple of experts who are going to explain what that means and why it matters. So my name is Nigel Stevenson. I'm Director of Market Development for Europe, Middle East and Africa for VMware Telco Group. And with me, I have Lance Uyehara, who is Director of Product Management for our RAN Intelligent Controller. And we also have Rakesh Misrah, who is Director in our R&D division, again, for the RAN Intelligent Controller. So no surprises that we're going to be talking probably quite a lot about the RAN Intelligent Controller during this session. Now, we're going to cover, as I say, programmability and what that means to operators. So I'm going to kick this off straight away with you, Rakesh, if I may. Programmability, as I say, big word. Can you, without getting too into the detail at the moment, and in terms of products and technologies, what is the vision for programmability? Why are we talking about programmability in networks, first of all?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thanks, Nigel, for inviting us to this show, and hello to all the audience members. Yes, programmability. So, very shortly, programmability is about the ability to customize the network even after an operator, a CSP, has purchased the equipment and the software and deployed it in the network. So, it's the ability to customize it on the fly. And the single biggest thing that it enables operators to do is to roll out new kinds of services in a much more agile manner. So 5G, as we all know, is going to be about services. Unlike 4G, which was designed for data, text, and voice, mainly for consumers, right? So pretty much the software stack was hard-coded, keeping those categories in mind. 5G is going to be all about services that goes well beyond data, voice, and text for subscribers. It's going to be a big play for enterprises, and enterprises are going to come in various shapes and forms. And there's going to be different kind of SLAs that different enterprises will need, depending on whether they are using IoT, whether they're doing drone, whether they're doing surveillance camera, autonomous vehicles, and so on and so forth. And this programmability is going to give operators the ability to customize the network to meet the SLAs for the specific service that they're delivering to specific, enterprises or individuals or groups of consumers.
Excellent. And presumably that's happening in real time. So we're not talking about fixed configurations. We're talking about adapting to the needs.
It is doing it on the fly. Even after a network has been deployed, the network is up and running, the software is up and running. You can change things on the fly every second, every tens of milliseconds, using new capabilities that Open RAN is introducing in the networks, so that you can meet the SLAs for the various services that you want to deliver. And of course, you can use the programmability to do a lot more things. You can optimize quality of service for your existing wireless subscribers. You can use programmability to add more automation to your network, right? So that you improve your OpEx, reduce your OpEx and improve operational efficiency. So you can put the programmability to a lot of uses, and there are many use cases that are developing in the industry to make use of this programmability. But the single biggest power that it affords the operators is it puts the control of the network in their hands, and it allows them to roll out these new kinds of 5G services at a much faster pace.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And in doing so, of course, I guess all of our vision is that this is going to fundamentally add value to the offer. Yeah. So this is going to touch on value services, on differentiation, and so on and so forth. Excellent.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that. That's good stuff. So, Lance, as I mentioned at the top, we're going to focus on the radio environment, right? So, good intro in terms of what programmability is across the network as a concept. Can you tell us a bit about what is happening in the RAN, the radio access network specifically, and how is programmability being introduced or visualized, if you like, in terms of the RAN itself?
Okay, no, great question. And I think it transitions well into the RAN intelligent controller. So as we've seen this whole movement to programmability, this modernization of the RAN, there's been different phases. So the first phase was really the more just decoupling the hardware from the software, just basic virtualization of the RAN. Right? That was kind of the first phase, being able to run RAN workloads on commercial off-the-shelf type hardware, just generic hardware. The next phase is what's really exciting. It's about this programmability where with the RAN intelligent controller, the RIC, we're able to separate the management and control planes from the data plane of the network. And that what provides this programmability. This is what allows now these third-party applications to customize the RAN, as Rakesh was mentioned, right? That's what's so exciting for the operators now, is that by separating the management control from the user plane, it brings about this programmability from these third-party applications, from applications that can come from a wide variety of folks, not just the traditional vendors. So it opens up a broad spectrum of use cases and innovation. And as Rakesh has mentioned, the pace of innovation is now picking up. And so we're seeing that with our customers today, where there's so much excitement in these applications and the different types of applications. And they're very anxious to try and deploy these and to test them out and trial them. And so we're seeing that in the industry today. It's, beyond just theory now, where we're actually deploying these in trials and allowing them to experiment and try, working out with these different use cases.
Excellent. We'll come on to the you mentioned multiple vendors and the ecosystem. I think we all agree is a really important factor here. So we'll come on to that, and we'll come on to some specifics as well in terms of examples of what we're seeing and what we're involved in. Before we do that, I'm going to come back to Rakesh again. It's always good to go backwards and forwards. So come back to Rakesh. This sounds all very future, right? It sounds lots of mention of 5G there. Not to mention the sort of future disaggregation around and so on. To what extent is this concept of programmability and the use of the RIG applicable to existing deployments? I guess you'd probably generalize as 4G deployments. Is there an application there, or are we just talking about the next generation?
No, great question. Actually, this is a popular misconception that the RIC is applicable only to 5G, only to Open RAN architectures, but that is actually not entirely correct. So the RICs come in two flavors. There is something what we call the non-real-time RIC, and there is something that what we call the near real-time RIC. The non-real-time specifically can be inserted even in legacy networks. It could be 4G networks, it could be non-ORAN network, it could be a non-vRAN network, it could be the existing deployments that most of the operators have in place around the world. You could actually insert a non-real-time RIC and run many of the same use cases that the industry is talking about running in a 5G ORAN network with the non-real-time RIC. And the reason you can insert a non-real-time RIC into a legacy network is because the kind of data and the interfaces that the non-real-time RIC needs in order to program the RAN are already available in existing legacy networks, although in a vendor proprietary way. So the key difference will be that the non-real-time RIC will not be using standard ORAN interface to interface with the legacy RAN. It will need to use vendor-specific interfaces, and it will need to do some vendor adaptation so that we can still expose an abstract, consistent interface to the third parties who are bringing the various non-real-time RIC applications. But that's the job of the non-real-time RIC. The non-real-time will interface with the legacy network, do the vendor adaptation, and third parties, these developers, the ecosystem that we're talking about, can still build many of the same applications even for legacy networks as they would for 5G Open RAN networks. Of course, with 5G Open RAN, you can build a lot more non-real-time RIC applications that are not possible in legacy networks. And in Open RAN networks, you can introduce near real-time RIC, which is not possible in legacy networks. But at least the non-real-time RIC and a good part of the applications that the industry is looking to bring on the non-real-time RIC can be inserted even in legacy networks.
Okay.
Yeah. And if I could add quickly, I think it's exciting what Rakesh is talking about, because it allows the service provider community to start this modernization journey now, today. They do not need to wait until they deploy their Open RAN networks. They can start today with the legacy networks, with the non-real-time RIC, and then bring these use cases. We've been speaking with customers who are interested in improving what they have currently today. So simple things, just like improving interference detection. They have it today, but it's not working to their satisfaction. Or cell selection and reselection. Again, it's working okay, but not to what they need. By having this non-real-time RIC and the RAN intelligent controller with the programmability, we can improve upon that through a variety of a broad ecosystem now partners, and improve the current RAN in this modernization journey today, and not wait for Open RAN.
And so just thinking of, again, keeping in mind I hate using legacy, but the legacy infrastructures. I'm just curious, and because it seems to me that if we can apply some of these programmability aspects to legacy networks, does that mean, for example, we could potentially look at managing energy more efficiently in some of those legacy networks? And that's a completely open question. I honestly don't know the answer to it. But I know that's a really hot topic. I'm based in Europe. Energy is a massive point of conversation for obvious reasons at the moment. Does that mean we could influence energy consumption even in traditional networks?
Yeah, the existing the vendors of the existing deployments do expose interfaces to program aspects of the network that would help in conserving energy. So
Okay.
absolutely, of course, these features are limited, and it also vendor dependent. Different vendors may expose these capabilities to different extents, but all incumbent vendors, at least the tier 1 vendors, do expose capabilities that can be programmed by a non-real-time RIC to help conserve energy. In fact, we have an application for optimizing energy that actually leverages some of these capabilities that are available in legacy, existing deployments.
So I guess it comes down to being able to, through those adapters, being able to extract information, hand that off to a third party who can analyze the information, and then pass it back to the network in the form of control.
You need to have that interface to configure the network. That is key for conserving energy. Just having the data and being able to analyze is not enough. You need to close the loop back in the network.
Absolutely.
So that you can actually achieve energy savings.
Yeah, and the one advantage that the RAN intelligent controller will bring about is its broader observability. So it has knowledge and awareness of not just at a cell level, but at a network level, right? So you can have a much broader observability to make your decisions and make much better decisions, even when it comes to energy savings. You can also bring in information from outside the RAN to help you with those energy decisions. So just that broader observability, that broader base of knowledge that the non-real-time RIC can act upon and these apps can act upon, gives you a much better performance and much, opportunities to perform much better than what we have in the traditional network.
It's really, for a long time, and I've been around for a long time, we've spoken, we talk of the amount of data that is in a network, the amount of just raw data that is in a network. This sounds like it's really allowing you to access and use that data to a positive effect, whether that's customer facing to offer a better service, or however you define that for what that customer wants, or whether it's efficiencies within the actual running of the network itself. It's making use of that data that might have been there before, but was not as accessible perhaps, or not as easy to manipulate. Absolutely. Cool. So let's move on. We're going through, as usual. We always find the time goes very quickly. I want to talk a little bit about the ecosystem and about the actual real use cases that we're seeing. So maybe we can bundle those two things together and ask you both to sort of maybe comment on, maybe pick your favorite use case, I don't know, but talk about some of the things that we're seeing through Plugfest, through customer trials and so on. And if you could touch on both the use cases so people get an idea of what we can do or what the community can do, but also it'd be interesting to understand what type of players, what type of vendors are enabling this as we go forward, because I'm sure that's going to impact how the market operates. I don't know who wants to start.
I can get that started. I
Okay.
think with regards to the players, what's really exciting is bringing in these new entrants, right? So with the RAN intelligent control and these applications that run on them, there's a broad spectrum again of folks that can develop these apps. From the RAN vendors themselves can bring upon applications to deliver features and functions that they may not want in their base offering. There's the operators themselves, our service providers that are interested. They have this broad knowledge of their RAN. They know their RAN better than anyone else. The RAN intelligent controller enables them to develop applications themselves. And then we have the third party, these independent software vendors who have specialized skills and knowledge, in different areas that they can bring to the RAN. And again, the RAN intelligent controller gives them the APIs, the platform to bring this knowledge. One example is in AI ML aspects. We've been having discussions with experts and in other areas outside the RAN. For example, folks that do inference engines much more efficiently, or have better models, better ways to train the models, better ways to process data more efficiently. By having the RIC provide them with the APIs and the interfaces so they can bring their technologies to the RAN, that'll just expedite and just quicken the pace of how we can bring in these new AI ML type technologies to the RAN.
Okay, anything to add from your side?
Yeah, you also asked about examples of use cases that the partners are bringing. So the use cases belong to several categories. We started by talking about monetization. There are partners, ecosystem vendors who are actually building applications, XApps and RApps that will help create new revenue streams for operators. So the examples would be applications for SLA assurance with network slicing. How do you assure SLAs in the RAN to meet the SLAs of an end-to-end network slice that the operator can then sell to whoever is willing to pay a premium for getting access to a dedicated slice of the network? There are partners who are building precise location as an application. And this would enable operators to expose a location API for any external location-based service which would want to pay in return for using the API. So these are new revenue streams for the operators, right? The RIC becomes a vehicle for creating new monetization opportunities. But then there are partners who are also building apps for a couple of other goals. One important goal is optimizing quality of service and optimizing spectrum efficiency. So there's a portfolio of applications that different vendors in the industry are building in order to achieve those goals. That ranges from optimizing the scheduling in the MAC layer itself. How do we better do MIMO? How do we better do multi-user MIMO? To optimizing layer 3 RRM applications, algorithms like traffic steering and handover optimization, capacity and coverage optimization, and so on. And then there are also vendors who are building applications to increase the automation in RAN operations. So today, operators maintain large ops teams for day-to-day operations of the RAN. There's a lot of manual things that happen in the network. Can we now use the programmability provided by RIC to automate many of the manual complex things that are provided by human experts today, right? So that hopefully gives you a sense of the spectrum of applications that the ecosystem is developing using the new capabilities that the RIC offers to them.
And to enable that, right, to help grow that and to help foster that in industry, Rakesh and his team, along with our partner alliance team, has done an outstanding job of creating an outstanding partner experience. We have launched in the summer of last year, we launched our VMware partner program, which is a way that enables our app partner, our app developer partners, to develop their applications from the time they first want to get started on this. We give them access to our SDK. We give them support. We give them training. We assist them through that entire journey. And as I was mentioning, Rakesh and his team has done an outstanding job of implementing features, functions, and this process. And he can elaborate on it a bit more, but I think that's going to be one of the key things to growing the ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that with going back to, I'm thinking 2012 now, when things like NFV was becoming popular, and the conversation was all around NFV, and that's now obviously developed somewhat, and when we're looking at cloud native, 5G standalone, whatever in the core. One of the things we learned very early in that journey was the need for certification, not just standardization, but the certification piece. And I remember at the time, a lot of customers are coming back saying, look, we need a program that helps us, I guess, two things: speed up deployment, but also de-risk deployment. So having that ability to pre-certify, to pre-test, and bring something to market with a degree of certainty is actually quite not just powerful, but pretty much essential as the whole environment becomes more complex and more automated. You really need the stuff to hit the ground running, basically. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm just looking at the time. I've lost the time. We're actually looking towards the end. I don't know. There's some really great use cases there, and it's really interesting to see how this principle of programmability can be applied to existing and future infrastructures. So it just occurred to me, we've got through an entire 20+ minutes. We've not said ORAN. I don't think we said ORAN. We might have done. I think we mentioned Cloud RAN and vRAN there, Rakesh, but that's okay. And we haven't mentioned our apps and X apps, and we've talked about the RIC. So we've definitely kept it
mention Open RAN a bit.
A good at high level. So thank you for that. It is interesting to hear that and hear your enthusiasm for all the possibilities here. A couple of things I suppose I leave the audience with. In terms of, as you mentioned, for anybody, for organizations developing apps to as you've described, please check out the partner program, and obviously we connect with the folks here on the call through LinkedIn if you need details on how to do that. But very much encourage people to check out the partner program, because that is proving to be very successful and very, very useful. Just generally speaking, from a learning perspective, if people want to find out more, I know we've got a RIC microsite that folks can go through. I think that's probably been advertised on the bottom of the page. Also, we're going to be at MWC, of course. That's coming up. It's another year, another MWC. So this one I think is going to carry on the success from last year. Last year was face-to-face for the first time, obviously after a bit of a break. Very successful. And this year we're looking forward to it again. And I know we've got, as part of our booth, if people want to come along to our booth, we've got a whole section dedicated to RAN innovation. So that's something where you can come along, you can see ecosystem partners actually showing some of this technology in operation on the VMware booth. So I'd give that a plug. And we're actually running a bit of a competition. We're running a rapathon, if I get my mouth around that, on the Tuesday of the event. So that's a specific event that you can come look at. But please, I'd encourage people to come along to MWC and see us in Hall 3. But for now, thank you guys for taking us through that massive topic. We've only had 20-odd minutes, but I think we've covered a lot of ground. Hopefully that's generated a lot of interest. And look forward to seeing how the journey continues. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for hosting us. Thanks everyone for listening.